So, just once again, if you guys could just drop in the chat where you're watching from, and then tell me one of two things. If you guys could tell me, put a one in the chat if you're brand new to digital marketing, you've never done anything with it before, or maybe you just got started. Put a two if you've already tried in the past and failed, or if you have, attempted something or in the process of attempting it and you're just feeling stuck. Okay, so those two categories. Um, One is brand new. Number two, you've had some success, but you just want to take this to the next level. Okay, so just let me know in the chat how you guys are feeling about that. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ben. I'm assuming you guys found me from Instagram at some point, or TikTok. But I'll just go ahead and give you kind of a brief rundown on my story. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about like just the overview of what this business model is. We're going to talk about how this works. And then what I want to get into tonight, this is more of an advanced training. I want to get a little bit more into some of the common things that are key to success in this business model, what a lot of people don't talk about. And then in addition to that, what are some of the things that are common mistakes people make when they're getting started or when they're building a business that can hold them back, and how you can avoid some of those things. And then, also go into a little bit about like sales strategy and some of those other topics for just how to be successful in doing this. So those are kind of the topics we're going to cover, but I want this to be interactive. Don't feel like you've got to, like I'm not following a set schedule or anything like that. So if you have questions, drop them in the chat, let me know, and I'll make sure that I answer all of your questions, because that's honestly the main purpose of why I do these webinars, is that I want to create a space for normal people to talk to a normal person, or as normal as I am, I guess, uh, to just get real answers and really understand how to be successful with this. I feel like there's so many people out there that, especially the people who've had success in this business model, they're either inaccessible, you can't talk to them, or they are just, super like tight-lipped, and they don't really give a whole lot of real insight into how they've been successful besides just like the basic nuts and bolts. So um, I want to try to be more than that for you guys, because this business model has changed my life so much, and I just feel like everybody deserves to have access to understand what this is about, how to have success, and how you can get started if you haven't already. So that being said, my story, I'll keep it pretty brief, but basically, I'm an Army veteran. My wife and I've been married for 14 years, and in like literally, digital marketing has completely changed my life. After I got out of the Army, I tried so many different things. Tried corporate jobs. I tried so many different side hustles and entrepreneurial type of things. You name it, I've pretty much like either taken a course on it or tried it. And so, um, there were some things that I had good success with, and some things that I didn't have any success with, and everything in between. But digital marketing, I think, when I got to this point about a year and a half ago, what changed everything for me was that I was able to have success with this, with only 2 hours a day. Okay. And everything else that I've ever had success with in the past, it was like you got to grind and hustle and spend, anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day working your butt off to actually make it successful. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm totally cool with hard work, but like the past couple of years, my wife and I have been in a place where I just didn't have that kind of time available. She had some really hard things happen with her health that required my constant attention at different points. And we were, there's been a lot of weeks where we've literally gone to the doctor or multiple doctors every single day of the week, um, to get her the care that she needed. And so and she wasn't able to drive, she wasn't able to shower, she wasn't able to do anything without my help. So um, with where we were at, working 12 hours a day or even 8 hours a day, or especially having to show up at a regular job was impossible. And hopefully you guys never have to be in a situation like that. But what is crazy about it is that I was able to make $10,000 a month in the midst of that or more, able to make $30,000 a month in the midst of that with only working a couple of hours a day. And so that's real financial freedom. Okay, when you're able to work something as if it's a side hustle or a hobby, but make like more than full-time income with it, that really changes the game because then you're able to like get your life back, right? You can cover your bills, but then decide what you want to do with the rest of your time. Like, do you want to spend more time with your family? Do you want to take those trips that you've always been dreaming of and never had time to do? And so that's what I love about this. And like I said, it's been such a blessing for our life, and so I'm just really excited to help all of you guys learn a little bit more about it and how it can work for you potentially. Um, so really quick, I'm going to cover. If you guys have been on some of my other webinars that I've done in the past, um, hang on, somebody's texting me. They want the link, so I'm just going to send them the link really fast. If you've been on some of my webinars in the past, um, I've covered a little bit more in detail, like the business model, how it works for beginners. So I'm going to kind of breeze through it a little bit tonight, not go as in depth. But if you haven't seen one of my previous webinars, then just message me in the chat, and I'll send you a link to one of the recordings. But tonight I want to go a little bit more in depth on the advanced stuff. So we're just going to breeze through this. For how this works, there's three components to this business model that I feel like are important to understand. The first one is that you need to have a product to sell. Okay, it's kind of obvious, but that's just step one. Is you've got to have an offer. There's multiple different ways you can go about that. You can do affiliate marketing, which is advertising other companies' products for them, and then you make commission on sales. You can make anywhere from 10% commission all the way up to like 90% commission on some things. Okay, so there's that's affiliate marketing. But then in addition to affiliate marketing, there's also selling digital products and what's called master resale rights or PLR, which is basically where you can acquire a digital product with the rights to resell it as if it were your own. So you can make 100% profit on every sale. Okay. And then, of course, if you create your own product, that's another whole thing too. You can create your own digital products and sell those online. But at the end of the day, having a good product is something that's accessible for everybody, whichever one of those routes that you choose to do. Okay. Once you have a good product, the second component of this is you have to have a way to sell it online. Okay. So you need to have a website with a sales page and a place where people can put in their credit card information and purchase that product, and you get paid. Okay. There's some people call that a funnel. You'll hear it called a website. Regardless, you just need to have an online platform that makes it easy for people to find and buy your product. Okay. There's a number of components to how to make that successful. I'm just going to breeze through this really quickly. Okay. So you want to have, number one, you want to have an opt-in opportunity where people can enter their email address to subscribe to your email campaign in exchange for like a freebie or something like that. Okay, so that's usually the first point of contact on your website. It's like a pop-up window or maybe a landing page where people can get something for free, some type of free value or content in exchange for signing up for your newsletter or your email campaigns. So you'll have an automated email campaign that's set up to just automatically start sending these people emails once they opt in on that. Okay. Second thing is having a sales page that's just basically a website that has all the information about your product, tells people why they, what the value is and why it's worth it for them to buy it. Okay. That's the majority of your website is just going to be that, like just kind of product information. And then you need to have, like I said, a place for them to enter their credit card information so that you don't have to deal with any of that. It's just they purchase on your website the same way they would on Amazon. All right. And then a thank you page that just gives them the download and, or tells them how they can retrieve it. All right, so that's the basics of a sales funnel. And then uh, once you've got that all set up, then the third component and the final piece of this, which is probably one of the most important pieces, is how to market that product and how to actually get customers. Okay, how do you find people? How do you get them to find you? And you can have the best website in the world with the best product, but if you don't market it well, nobody's going to ever find it or know about it or purchase it. So the way that I go about this, and the way that I teach my students how to do this, is through social media. Okay, so you're using Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, to talk about your product or talk about the solution to somebody's problem that your product provides. Okay, and then what's really cool is if you're doing this correctly and you're following the right strategy, which I'm not going to go too in depth on this webinar, but if you're following the correct strategy on social media, even starting from zero, you can leverage the way that Instagram or TikTok's algorithms work naturally without spending money on any advertising. You can just post things that are going to get put out there to the people that are your target audience. They're going to find you, they're going to comment. And if you've got your automations all set up correctly, then they're going to automatically just get sent the link to your website where they can go and they can purchase your product. Okay. So setting all this up with automations and stuff like that, there's a lot of steps involved, but I learned how to do this in a week. Okay. And I'll go over in a second, like, how I did that. But really, you just have to have the manual and the step-by-step of how to set this all up so that you can be making money in your sleep and you don't have to do anything except your daily checklist, 1 or 2 hours a day, posting on social media. Okay. Everything else should just flow automatically from that. Okay. That in a nutshell is how this business model works. So I know that's very high level, but what I want to cover tonight is some of the common things that make the difference between success and failure. And let me get to this question really quick. Cheryl asked, how did you decide which product service to begin with? Did you just build a simple website from a provider like GoDaddy? Cheryl, that's a great question. So the short answer is the way that I normally work with my students to decide where to start with, what product to start with, is and this is something I do for my elite mentorship students. Like we'll have like an in-depth conversation in that first session, and we just go through what's your background, what have you done in your career so far, what are your interests, your passions, what makes you tick, like what are some things that people come to you for advice on, and we'll just go into all those different things that make you you. And then I'm going to be looking for where's the intersection between all of those things and profitable niches or profitable products that you've got something that maybe it's not like you're an expert in, but that you at least like have something to bring to the table that is a common problem that you can provide a solution for. And I can always find something that somebody has that like is going to create value in the marketplace if they either created a product around it or found an existing product within that topic. But you don't have to have something like that because you can just pick a product that's already profitable. But I find that you're going to have the most success if it's something that you like have a vested interest in personally. That way, when you're showing up to do your work every day, it's easy for you to create content about it, or it's something that you enjoy talking about and creating content around. So that's kind of my answer to that. But with building a website, yes, GoDaddy is where you purchase your domain, but I'll recommend either StanStore or System.io normally for actually creating a page to sell your product. But you can use any provider; it really doesn't matter. But those are the ones that I recommend because they're more beginner friendly. Okay. So any other questions before I dive in on the keys to success and common mistakes that hold people up? Okay. So keys to success with this. All right. Number one that I feel like is just uh, kind of the basics is you might laugh at this, but this is truly the thing is like you've got to stick with it. Okay. This is something that you need to have you need to be committed to the process. You need to show up for it and stay with it. Just like any business that you start, like you've got to be willing to put in the work up front in order to get the return on the back end. Okay, that's how every business is ever run. Very few businesses statistically are going to make a profit in the first week. Like that just doesn't. It doesn't happen. Although I have seen it happen in this business model, but this is one of the few business models where that can even possibly happen. Um, but it's still not the norm. Okay, so commit to the process, finish building everything out, and then actually do the work on a daily basis. Number one. Okay, but that might sound obvious to you, so we're going to go a little bit deeper. Um, Number two is speed. Okay, speed is key, I believe, in any business, but specifically in this business, um, moving as quickly as possible to launch, and then once you've launched, creating like just an urgency within your business to constantly be doing the next thing as quickly as possible. Okay, it sounds a little bit nebulous, so let me give you a little bit of an example of what I mean by that. Let's say that you're building out your website for your product. Okay, what speed looked like for me in the beginning, okay, was I put all of the functioning pieces of my website together to make it work so that somebody could buy my product from my website. Okay. But I made it look, decent, but I didn't perfect it. Okay. I am naturally a perfectionist. So this is something I have to fight against and war against in myself because my natural inclination is to spend a month making sure that everything is perfect on the website before I launch. You're going to kill yourself and you're never going to succeed if that's how you approach your business in general. Okay. Um, there's this principle in business called minimum viable product, or you might hear it called MVP. Okay, minimum viable product means that it's like for startup companies specifically, but I think it applies at every level of business, and that's that you have this speed to launch. Like you create the bare minimum of what is like workable, and then you go and you like put it out there, and then you refine after it's already out there, after the wheels are turning, after the gas is already like to like pedal to the metal. Okay, so part of the reason for this is that like you might be perfecting something. You're perfecting your website, making everything sound exactly how you want it, trying to fix the wording and fix that graphic and all this stuff. But you're doing that based off of what data? Like you don't know what your customers are looking for yet. You don't know what's going to sell well yet, right? You don't know what people are going to respond to, if they're going to like love it or hate it. So put it out there and then refine it based on the feedback you get. Okay. Because guess what? I've been shocked sometimes at how well something is performed when I thought it was trash. So like sometimes it's like you just never know until you actually put it out there. So don't waste time, is all I'm saying. Like you might spend 2 weeks when you could have been getting sales during those 2 weeks if you would have just launched with your imperfect website and then refined it as you go once it's already up there. Okay. So speed is key. Keep that in mind. Always launch before you're ready. Kind of like when people, and I don't have kids, but I've heard everybody say, like, you're never going to be ready to have kids, right? Well, you're never going to be ready to launch your business. It's never going to feel like the right time. It's never going to feel like you're ready to go. You're always going to feel like you are like behind the eight ball, like things are not ready, like whatever. So, in my experience, the people who are successful in this business are the ones who bite the bullet and they say, I'm not ready to do this, but I'm going to take the first step anyway. Okay. Number three, key to success is confidence. Okay. Now, when I say confidence, a lot of people who maybe are naturally like either insecure or doubt themselves or just have fear around starting something new, They start to be like, oh, well, I can never succeed. If I've got to have confidence, like I just don't have it. Okay. I want to break down some of these limiting beliefs for you because confidence is not something that you're just going to wake up one day and have. And it's not something that you're just going to like force yourself to have if you don't feel it. Okay. So this is not a feeling. Confidence is something that you project through your actions, not through your feelings. The feelings will come as a result of the actions, but not the other way around. Okay, so you might look at somebody who's on social media and they look so confident and they're just so clear in what they're doing, and you're like, I could never talk like that. I could never act like that because I don't feel like that. And to an extent, that's true. The first time you go on camera or the first time that you put up a reel, you may not be exuding confidence. Okay, that's okay. But the person who's out there acting like that, talking like that, doing like that, their first post, their first video, their first reel, I guarantee you they didn't have it either. Okay, so you're looking at them, a few months or a few years into their journey. They've built that confidence through action. You just haven't done it yet. Okay. It's like riding a bike. The first time everybody rides a bike, they're wobbly, they look goofy, and they might fall. Like that's everybody's beginning journey. So you've got to go through that phase for yourself. But when I say you need to have confidence, that means that you need to actively pursue it and build it and like do your best to put it out there and try for confidence. Okay? It's really more so about like attempting it. Because the more that you attempt it and the more that you like strive for it, the better you're going to get at it. And then eventually you become confident and you feel confident because you've been doing it 100 times. So, um, when I'm talking about 100 times, I'm talking about posting mainly, like, because that's mostly what we do for this business model is just social media. And you don't even have to show your face. I'm not saying you need to do this with your, like, putting yourself on camera. But even for people who are faceless, this still applies to like the way that you communicate in your captions, the way that you're posting content. You want to make sure that you are getting yourself constantly forcing yourself to step into a headspace of how would I talk if I had already succeeded? How would I speak about this product if I had gotten a ton of feedback and reviews from people telling me that this changed their life, right? So let's say that you've got uh, trying to think of a good example of a product here. Um, let's say that you have a course on um, how to um, my mind. I have so many students and I can't think of a single one off the top of my head right now. Let's just say that you've got a cookbook. Okay, let's just keep it super simple. You've got a cookbook with a bunch of recipes. All right, that's your product. You might feel like I don't know if anybody's going to buy this, right? Like I don't know if this is going to be successful. I don't know if anybody's going to even like my recipes. They might think they're terrible, right? So all of these things might be going through your head and you feeling completely not confident. But when you go to post your post on Instagram, you want to get into a space of thinking like, okay, let me just imagine that my cookbook's been on the market for a year. I've had 600,000 sales, and I've had so many people messaging me like, "This is the best lasagna recipe I've ever had." Literally, like my kids are raving over these cookies. I want to share this with everybody that I know. Like, just you get yourself in, you just imagine some of that stuff, and then you'd be like, it transforms the way that you think about how you post. Okay, because you put yourself in a position of like what would this how would I feel and what would I say if I were confident about this cookbook, and that's what you bring to the table and you put your best foot forward in that way. Okay, um, so putting your best foot forward is another kind of angle on this that I want to address that goes along with the confidence piece. I've seen so many people who get started, and we're kind of going into the common mistakes here, but there's a lot of overlap. um, I've seen so many people get started in this digital marketing business and they self-deprecate. Okay. That in their posts, it's shocking to me sometimes because I've been doing this for a while. And so like I like sometimes I'm just like, whoa, like I forgot that this is something people struggle with. But a lot of people will put in their captions and in their posts like you know, I'm not an expert, or like, I may, I may not be very successful yet, but blah blah blah. And they're like, they're so self-conscious that they're trying to be like, don't criticize me because like I'm not trying to say I'm all that. Well, that's understandable that you're trying to talk about that stuff, but that doesn't serve your business. Okay. The people who have the most success with this, you do not need to lie. You should never lie. You should always have integrity. But you should also put your best foot forward and your best face on your business possible and talk about all the positives. Talk about all the reasons why you are credible, why you do have something valuable to offer. What is it about your product and what you bring to the table that is going to change somebody's life if they apply it? Talk about that stuff. Just don't focus on the black spot on the counter, like draw people's attention to the beautiful flowers behind it, right? Like that's kind of how marketing works. Um, every product, every company, every business, every expert has flaws and weaknesses in their business model. But the ones who are the most successful are the ones who focus best on their best aspects of their business. So that's really key as you're working on this is don't self-deprecate, don't make excuses for your problems, just focus on the things that you have to bring to the table that are really fantastic. um, and sometimes that's something I've got to help people work through with my mentorship is like helping people find those shining lights about you and those like really awesome things that really do stand out that you can really harp on and focus on in your marketing. But it's really key to uncover some of those ingredients so that you can kind of keep the light shining on that. Any questions about those keys to success so far? Okay. Um, I'm gonna shift gears into the common mistakes. Like I said, there's some overlap here, but here's the things that, and you won't see most people talk about these aspects of this business, but I want to be completely realistic and straightforward with you about what makes the difference between success and failure. One of the most common questions I get from people is like, what separates the people who succeed with this and the people who don't? Because guess what, guys? Most people who start an online business don't succeed. Okay, so most people that start a business period don't succeed. Just statistically, it just you don't. Okay, uh, but statistics. What's crazy about statistics, guys? You might look at statistics and think that you have, if 15% of people who start a business succeed, that means that you have a 15% chance of success. That's where the problem lies. Okay, that is not valid. Statistics of how many people succeed does not equate to your chances of success. Here's why. You have control over your success or failure based on your actions and avoiding or not avoiding these common mistakes. Okay. So I would say you've got a 90% chance of success if you avoid 90% of the common mistakes that people make when they start a business. Okay. Um, and number one is don't give up and don't quit. I'm not going to say like don't ever give up. Like if you do this for 10 years, like and you haven't made a dollar, like keep going. No, like you did something wrong. You need to fix that problem. So it's not just about not giving up, but some people give up before they even have time to even think about what the problem might have been to try to fix it. Okay, so I heard somebody say the other day, like somebody was asking them, like, how how do you like how have you managed to stay married for so long? I think it was like one of the Real Housewives or something. Like I heard them on the TV or something. They were like, "How have you managed to stay married for so long?" And she said, "Just don't get divorced, right? Like work through it." Um, Obviously, things are more complicated than that with marriage, but I'm just saying, like that's a business principle. How do you manage to stay in business so long? Don't quit. Okay. Um, But along with not quitting, being consistent with your business is absolutely essential. So when we're talking about like after you launch, once you get started, this business only takes an hour or two a day. Okay. The daily work of this is putting up content on social media, posting reels and stories, etc. It doesn't take long. You don't have to like reinvent the wheel. We'll get to that in a second, um, but you have to be willing to do your daily checklist. At least 6 days a week. Okay, it's not a whole lot to ask. I mean, you brush your teeth every day. There's certain things that you just force yourself to do every day because you know that consistency matters, right? I'm sure you bathe consistently, you probably brush your teeth consistently, you eat consistently, you sleep consistently, right? Maybe you miss a day here and there of some of those things, but as a rule, you come back around to it the next day and you get back on, right? Um, Treat your business the same way. And that's the number one thing that makes people fail out is the failure to be consistent. Okay. Um, I think along with that, one part, if you go one level deeper than that, is having proper expectations. Okay, so like I mentioned before, this is not a get rich quick. This is not something that normally happens in your first week or two. And so don't don't let yourself, you can be discouraged. Like that's going to happen naturally. You might feel discouraged, but don't let that affect your actions. Okay. You might feel discouraged and like nothing's happening for your first week or two, maybe your first three weeks or 4 weeks. Okay. If that happens, you have a choice to continue to work knowing that the process does work as long as you stay consistent, or you have the choice to give up because you're feeling like nothing's happening. But it's that age old like there's a seed growing underneath the soil, right? Like if you've seen those little AI videos that shows there's a seed down here and you're watering it and it's just starting to bud and it's starting to grow and the roots are going down and like little things coming up like this and then it's like you stop watering it and the plant dies, right? But you didn't realize all this was going on down under the surface. If you kept watering it, you would have seen that plant come through the surface, right? That's how this business works. You got to stay with it over time. Make sure you're doing the right things consistently, and it will happen. Um, Mistake number two that really gets people and prevents you from having success. Cheryl, yeah, I just saw your question. Um, I will be sending out a recording of this. So yeah, definitely take care of your kid, and I'll send out the recording for sure. Um, so next mistake I want to cover is a lot of people when they get into this business, um, they want to be like they want to be, and this is all good things. Like the motives are good, okay, but they want to be like unique. They want to be their own person. They want to be real and genuine, and so they try to create their own content from scratch, just out of their brain, and they try to post on social media things that they think are good. Okay. And no offense to any of them, but the thing is that even I, after doing this for a long time and after having a ton of success, even I have a hard time predicting what's going to succeed or go viral on Instagram, and what type of content is going to really be super effective. Okay. Now I'm definitely better at it now than I was 2 years ago. And I have a much higher percentage of figuring those things out and getting it right than most people. But even still, I don't recommend, especially when you're starting, I don't recommend trying to figure it out on your own because you're gonna drive yourself nuts trying to find what works. So the bottom line is do not reinvent the wheel when you're first starting out. How do you do that? How do you avoid that? You need to go on Instagram, go on TikTok, go on social media, find people who are in your niche or in something very similar that are already successful. Find their viral reels, the ones that like have gotten hundreds of thousands or millions of views and hundreds or thousands of comments. Okay. Those are the people that you're going to go out and you're going to get inspiration from. And you're going to like take their content and like obviously don't just completely copy and paste it, but you're going to be like, oh, that hook on that reel, the hook meaning like what's on the screen on the video, um, that would apply to my product too. Okay. So you're going to take that and you're going to make your own reel with that same text because that obviously worked for them. So it's going to work for you too. All right. So you don't want to just try to come up with your own text copy and just like see if it works because like 999 times out of 1,000, you're going to fail. And you don't want those kind of statistics. Okay. You want like 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 100 max um, to go viral. And the way that you do that is by copying what's already gone viral. Okay. Because there's no way to predict what's going to go viral, but what's already gone viral, you can bet your bottom dollar that it's going to be better than something you come up with out of your head. Okay. So copy what works, um, and find people in your niche that you can model your business after so that you don't have to be coming up with everything from scratch. Common mistake number 3, I think we're on. Posting to your audience before you have an audience. Okay, let me explain how this works. When you're first starting your business and you start a brand new Instagram account, and you start posting about your product or your solution to somebody's problem. So many people they start posting and they're being super creative and they're kind of like talking about all different things. Every time they post, they want to come up with a new idea or something new to say or something like a little bit, catchy or whatever. Okay. That is all good. But when you have 0 followers, it's like complete waste of time. Okay. You do not need to nurture your audience. You don't need to worry about what people are watching or seeing you post in the beginning because nobody's watching. Like you have 0 followers. Maybe you've got like 10 followers. Those aren't your people. Okay. Your people are when you have like hundreds of followers, thousands of followers. That's where you're moving towards. And so all you should be caring about in the first phase of your business when you launch is getting your content to go viral, getting a lot of views, getting a lot of engagement from people that are not yet following you. Okay. So imagine this way. Um, if you're a business owner, like a traditional brick and mortar business, let's say you have a McDonald's. It's probably not a good example. Let's say you've got a clothing store in like the downtown of your city. Okay. Um, you're not going to interact with people the same way when they're inside of your store as you would. Like you're not going to market to people inside of your store the same way that you're going to market to them when they're not inside of your store, right? How do you get people into your store? Not by like walking down the sidewalk and like striking up conversations with every single person that you meet and like talking to them about their kids and like getting in the weeds about like what kind of clothing they like to wear. If that's how you're getting people into your store, you are going to burn out like yesterday. Okay. And it's not going to be effective either. Like people don't want to talk to you when you're just walking down the sidewalk, like randomly out of the blue. Like they're going to be like, who are you? Why are you talking to me? Right. So how do you get people into your store? You put up a billboard, you put an ad on the radio or maybe on TV, or you put an ad in the newspaper. Like you put out an advertisement that's in a public space that's like super catchy and it is a little bit like adsy. But you want to like get people to be aware that you exist and get them to go to your store, right? So how does that apply to what I'm saying now? When you're posting on social media and you don't have any followers yet, that's like nobody's in your store yet. So you want to be talking to people like with the same type of like goal as a billboard or an ad or something like that. Like you're just trying to get people's attention, be a little bit salesy, be a little bit like exaggerated, but that's what's going to get people in the door and be like, hey, this is really catchy, interesting. I had to stop my scroll because she just said like, this really crazy idea that I'm really excited about, right? Now they're going to follow you. Once you've got like a few hundred followers, now you can start posting stuff that's more conversational. Now you can start being a little bit more vulnerable and talking about different aspects of your product and things like that that are a little bit more in depth. But in the beginning, you just want to be super repetitive of just like headlines, like core content, viral content. Okay. Basically, what I said before, copy what's working with other people, copy what you already know works, and just do it over and over and over and over and over again. It doesn't matter if it's the same post that you posted 3 days ago. Nobody's watching you yet. Until you get something to go viral and you get those followers, then you can start worrying about that stuff. Okay. So that's just one really quick I wanted to hit on because some people don't understand that. They're posting the way that I would post after having 100,000 followers when they're not there yet. And so you just want to make sure that um, you're focusing on the correct phase of your business. Okay. Common mistake number four, and I kind of hit on this already when I was talking about the keys to success, putting your best foot forward, but negativity. Okay, there's multiple layers to this, but I've noticed that some people will sabotage their success and sabotage their business with negativity. Okay, a lot of these people who are sabotaging their businesses with negativity, they think of themselves as realists. They think of themselves, and they say, like, I hear this so many times from these people. They're like, I just want to be realistic. Like, I just want to, like, I'm positive, but I just want to be realistic. And I'm like, the reality is that you don't have as much money as you want. And so that's why you're doing this, right? So like why do we want to focus on reality? We want to focus on the future. We want to focus on the potential. We want to focus on where you're going, not where you are. Okay? So negativity is not helpful in helping you get to the next level. The only thing, and so like what are some examples of negativity? Like, and you guys can even help me in the chat. Like, let me know what your thoughts are on like what some of these things can be. Okay, these can be thoughts, starting off as thoughts in your mind, but especially when you start putting them into words, like in your posts or in your messages or in how you're talking about your business, even to your family. Um, like, as an example, this could be a thought or something you say. Um, like, I don't know why anybody would buy from me. Like, why would somebody buy from me when they could buy from somebody else who's been doing this longer and has more credibility? That's one of the things I hear the most from these people. Okay. And it's not an invalid question, but you got to flip it around and you've got to ask that question in a different way that creates a solution that doesn't make you just stop and be like, I suck. I'll never succeed. That's basically what that question means. What you need to ask is like, hmm, why would somebody buy from me? What about me would make somebody purchase from me versus somebody else? As opposed to, why would anybody buy from me? I got nothing to offer. No, it's a valid question. Let's answer the question. Why would somebody buy from you? Because you are more like them than everybody else. Maybe they connect with you and they just see themselves in you. Maybe your story resonates with them more than the big, fancy guru who's making $1 million out of it. Maybe you're more believable and maybe you're more like um what do you call it, approachable because you are small. Maybe because you only have 500 followers or even 20 followers. Maybe somebody's like, oh wow, you know what, this person is probably actually going to care about me as a customer. I'm not just a number to them. So maybe that's why they buy from you. Maybe it's because your product has something about it that they're like, I haven't found this in any other product. Maybe your marketing, the way that you're talking about this product, connects with somebody on a level that nobody else is because you have gone through something in your journey that you're talking about in your marketing that connects with that specific group of people. Okay. So you see how I flipped that around? You might be sitting there thinking like, there's nothing about me that I can see that would make somebody want to buy from me. But there are things about you that are very unique that are going to help you be successful where other people haven't been. And there are 2.5 billion people on Instagram. Guess what? Any one of those 2.5 billion people could be your customer. Just because somebody else is selling a similar product to yours and they have 600 customers already, 600 customers out of 2.5 billion. You think that there's some room for growth there? Absolutely. You're going to find people that they don't connect with. Okay. So, this negativity piece, you've got to really watch yourself. You've got to really pay attention to what you're thinking about and how you're thinking about it, what you're speaking into your business. Because this is not this isn't woo woo mindset like is gonna like manifestation stuff. Although I'm not saying that that stuff isn't valid as well, but what I'm talking about right now isn't just that. Okay, what I'm saying is that if you are constantly in a loop with in your mind with negative thoughts about your business and self-defeating thoughts about your business and telling yourself all the reasons why you're not going to succeed, then it your mind is going to be focused on those things and it's not going to be focused on the solutions and the ways to get the edge in your business. You're not going to have space for both of those things at the same time. Okay. So if you want to have space to find the solutions and to create growth and to know the right things to say that are going to give you that edge, then you have to eliminate the negative talk. You've got to eliminate and ignore and move beyond all of the things that are in your head that are speaking negatively towards the business. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm just like I don't know if I'm explaining this like in the best way, but it's super critical that you constantly redirect your thoughts. You're going to have negative thoughts, but how can you redirect them towards finding the way around that obstacle every single time? Does that make sense? Okay. Um, I guess in a nutshell, to sum up that point, um, you want to be solution oriented at all times in your business. Solution oriented. If a problem comes up, how do I solve it? If a thought comes up, how can I redirect that into something positive? And that's kind of the key to success there. Okay, we've got a few more minutes here. I want to cover like some stuff about sales and how to close sales. Okay, a lot of people once you start getting potential customers and they are coming to you and they'll probably ask some questions. You know, you'll have people that come to you and they're like before they buy they want to know some things, right? So if you're engaging with your customers, how how do you close a sale? How do you get people to actually purchase your product when you're interacting with them? Um, I'm just going to start by saying this. You do not need to be a salesperson. Okay. Nobody needs to be a salesperson. Nobody likes salespeople. Okay. Like, nobody wants to be, have their arm twisted into doing something. It just feels bad for everybody. Right. Um, the way that this business works and what I think is so amazing about digital marketing is that you have the freedom with this business model to just focus on the people that you can actually help, to just focus on the people that are actually like that this is actually what your product is actually going to be beneficial for them. Okay, so what I mean by that is instead of trying to force everybody that you talk to be your customer, that's not what we do to get to close deals. Okay, you're not going to force people to be your customer. What you're going to do is you're going to find out whether or not your product is good for them and help them discover whether or not your product's good for them. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that when you engage in a conversation with a potential customer, you're not going to sit there and you tell them all about your product and tell them why it's so amazing and tell them why they need to buy it. Like that's not helpful. That's just pressure, right? If you're sitting there being like, and I have this feature and I've got this thing and it's like this is so amazing, I'm blah 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 blah. They're like, hey, I don't even know like if this is going to help me yet. Okay, so how do you do it correctly? The way that you want to do it is you want to focus on them, focus on your customer, focus on who they are, what's their story, why are they even interested in the product, what like ask questions. Okay, like what was it that sparked your interest? What was it that made you stop and look at my page? What do you need? And if you focus on them and and you try to draw out what is the solution that they are looking for in this moment? What is the need, the pain point, the problem that they're trying to solve? And then how can you find something within your product that matches up to that that's going to make them feel like, yes, that's what I need. Okay. Um, so that it's really just focusing on listening. Listen to their story. Okay. Um, help them help them paint the picture of like what your product can do for them, not for you, not for your other customers, but how can you figure out based on their story and where they're at how your product can help them. All right. So that kind of leads into number two, which is overcoming objections. When people come to you and they're going to have objections. Okay. I want you to understand that objections in this business model are not people telling you no. If somebody's telling you an objection, like they're saying like, "Whoa, I don't know about this," or "I don't know about that," they're still in the conversation. If it was a no, they wouldn't be talking to you anymore. They would have said, "No, thanks, I'm good." No, they're offering you a question in the form of an objection, and they're saying like, "What about this? Like, is this valid? Can I overcome this? What do you think about this?" And that's how you have to think about these objections. So if they're saying like, "Oh wow, that's pretty expensive," when you talk about your product, that's pretty expensive. They're telling you that they haven't understood how your product could help add that much value to their life yet. So they're telling you this, and that's a great thing because it's giving you an opportunity to say, "Oh, okay, well, like tell me a little bit about what you were hoping for this to do for me." And then they can go into like what it was they were hoping for your product to solve for them. And then you say, "Okay, well, um, you know, let's say that you've got a cookbook, okay, um, and maybe it's like a meal planning cookbook, and they're like, "That's really expensive. It's $39." And you're like, "Well, let me ask you this: like, why were you drawn to this to begin with?" And you're like, "Well," and they're like, "Oh, well, you were saying that you could help people plan their meals out for the week and simplify their life and stuff like that." And you're like, "Okay, well, do you find yourself like buying groceries and then throwing them out because they're wasted, like they go bad before you had a chance to use them?" And you're like, "Yeah, like I do that every week." And you're like, "Well, like don't you think that even in 1 week you're probably throwing away $39 worth of groceries because you didn't plan very effectively?" And they're like, "You know what, yeah, probably." And you're like, "So if I give you this book and I help you meal plan, you just made your money back in 1 week because you're eliminating that waste from your fridge. So then week two and week three and week four, you're basically making money off of this cookbook." Okay. I'm making this up. Like, I don't even know if those numbers would be valid or not, but you see what I'm saying with that? Okay. So you're overcoming their objection about the price by helping them understand that like their journey with this makes that price point actually make perfect sense. You're not telling them, "No, it's not too expensive." You're just helping them understand the value in a different way so that they no longer think that it's expensive themselves. Okay. So, overcoming objections, you want to do three things. You want to listen to the objection, and then you want to validate the objection, and then you want to educate them about that objection. Okay. So, you listen by taking it in, actually understand what it is that they're objecting about and why they're objecting about it, maybe ask a few questions. But then you want to also validate by saying like, "Oh yeah, I can see why you feel that way. Like, yeah, I get it." And actually be like genuine about that. Be like, "Oh yeah, you know what? Like I can see where you're coming from. Um, but here's what I found." And then you educate them about why they may not be seeing the full picture. Okay, just like we did with the price there. Okay. I'm gonna try to rush through these last ones because I know we're already coming up on an hour here. Number three for how to close sales. be genuine. Okay. Don't like put on a salesy like sales pitch type of thing. I know most of you guys probably wouldn't do that anyways, but genuine integrity and just being a real person, connecting with people as a human is, I think, such a huge part of this because like people are so afraid of scammers these days, and people are so afraid of like being scammed that um, that the more I'm a real human you can be, the better off you are, and the more sales you'll get. Okay. Um, Along with that, don't be pushy or aggressive. You can create urgency around your product. Like, if you've got a sale or something like that, like you can just in general be like, hey, like price is going up, or, the sale's only good for 24 hours. But don't like individually single people out and be like, well, if you don't sign up by tomorrow, I'm going to stop following up with you. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, don't be like that. Like, don't try to make people make a decision on the spot when they're not ready. Um, just be laid back and, completely chill, and people are going to respond much better than that. Last one, this is probably the most important for how to close sales, is just consistent follow up. Okay. So continue to reach back out to people that have expressed interest in the past, and, just naturally like keep a list. Like if you don't make a list, you're not going to follow up with people. But if you keep a list of everybody that's been interested, and you just swing back around like once a week, once every 2 weeks, and just say, hey, I know you expressed some interest in the past. Like, what are your thoughts? Are you still thinking about this? Simple as that. And just start the conversation back up again. And if you do that consistently, you'll increase your sales tenfold. Okay. Um, that's all I got for this piece of the advanced training. You guys, if you just implemented exactly what I just said, and you followed the digital marketing steps with those key things, and kept those in mind as you're working through this, you are going to increase your chances of success by about 1,000. Okay. Um, this is what in working with hundreds of students, these are the things that I have found that make the most difference in success or failure. And so if you're following these steps and sticking with that, then you're going to be successful. It's just a matter of when, not if. Okay. So hopefully it's been empowering for you. Do you guys have any questions about anything we've covered tonight? Um, Really quick, if you guys could, in the chat, could you guys tell me um, one more time? Put a one in the chat if you have already started working on digital marketing as a business and like exploring that. Put a two if you're like just thinking about getting started and you haven't pulled the trigger yet. Okay, so one if you've already started doing this. Number two if you're just like still thinking about getting started. If you are still thinking about getting started, I would highly encourage you to check out Digital Wealth Academy. It's a comprehensive course that teaches you everything you need to know about how to get started with this business model. All the nuts and bolts of like how to build a website, how to do social media, all those things are included with that. Send me a text if you want more information on that. My number, I'll just put my number in the chat here. It's 504-402-8266. Okay. This is how I learned how to do it. Okay. Of course, just like this, although it was a year and a half ago, so it was different back then, but basically, I mean, this course is way better than what I started with. Okay. But that course will guide you through how to get started and how to be successful with this. And it's extremely user friendly. Now, if you are already doing this, or if you're looking at getting started and you want to like actually, you're just one of those people where you're like, listen, I don't want to just watch a bunch of videos and like try to put the pieces together myself. Like I want to work with an expert that's going to hold my hand and show me exactly what to do step by step and say, do this next. Okay. Like I've had a lot of people coming to me asking for that. And the advantage of that is that then that like somebody who knows how this works is looking over your shoulder and telling you exactly what you need to do next and what to fix and like, all the different things that go into this. If you're looking for something like that, I put together a mentorship program specifically for that. And it's literally just working one-on-one with me. Okay. And I will guide you through every step of this process and tell you exactly what you need to do and how you need to do it. Um, and I'll just be in the weeds with you, helping you launch your business every step of the way. If you're interested in that, then just text me the word elite. That's ELITE, and and I'll send you some more information on that. We'll have a conversation about if that's right for you. But that's just text the word elite to 504-402-8266, and I'll be able to talk to you a little bit more about that program. Um, Again, if you're looking at Digital Wealth Academy, you just want to go through the online course, then text me DWA to that same phone number, and I'll send you info on that as well. But anyway, I will see you guys on social media. If you guys have any questions, oh, here's a question from Andy. What's your thoughts on focusing on reselling DWA if you are a complete beginner? Is that market oversaturated? Excellent question, Andy. It is not oversaturated. Proof of that is that I see people all the time that are starting off as brand new beginners and having success with that very quickly. Okay, so no, it's not oversaturated. It is the the online space is oversaturated with people who are doing a poor job of marketing. Okay, so if you're doing the right things and you're doing a good job of marketing, then you have a great chance of success because most people aren't doing it right. Okay, so I definitely think it's a good thing to start with. Not for everybody. I mean, some people, want to start with their own products or affiliate marketing or whatever, and I think that's really great too. Um, but if you do want to start by selling a course like Digital Wealth Academy, then it's definitely a great place to start because, like, I mean, where else can you make over $400 profit every time you sell something? It's a pretty great way to get started. So, any other questions? Anything else you guys are curious about? I know we covered a ton of information tonight, but love to hear any of you guys' thoughts or questions. Okay. Yeah, absolutely, Kathleen. Kathleen, appreciate you guys getting on here, and hopefully it was helpful for you. Um, you got my number, so text me if you have other questions that come up for you later. And hopefully you guys have a great rest of your weekend and a great Friday night. All right, God bless you guys. Take care.